Let's kick off. Week number 9. Question number 1 comes in from Andy. Hi there, Andy. Thanks for jumping in here. What are your thoughts on Boomin going into liquidation? And does this mean there are very little alternatives for agents other than the big 3 property portals? Okay, Andy. Well, that's probably the biggest shock news of the industry this week. And I'll be honest with you, for me personally, it was a huge shock to see in the industry press, and it was almost one of those things you kind of double check. Am I dreaming this? Is this a hoax, or somebody's spreading malicious rumors or what have you? But yeah, I was pretty shocked to see that it had happened. And then, of course, with something like this, you start to read everybody's opinion, and people start putting out articles and all the rest of it. But I think, on the whole, there's a couple of things I didn't quite understand about the business model, and this is something that I think ultimately means it's not unexpected as to what's actually being the outcome. But I never understand this business model where you go out and you have an idea, and then you raise a whole bunch of cash, and then you go out and implement that idea, but you're losing money all the time, and therefore the only way to make the business work is to then go out and get another round of capital and spend all of that and still trade at a loss. And then the ideal is that you get through 3 or 4 rounds of funding to then go to PLC status, float on the stock market, and the Hail Mary has happened, and you walk away with tons and tons of cash. I never really understand that model for some reason. And maybe a couple of big names have become successful. Uber's one of them. Amazon is another, where they've gone out and they've raised a bunch of cash, and they've then thrown it at marketing, and they've undercut the competition to try and establish market share, with the hope that once the other competitors have been priced out, they can then come in at a higher fee level, if you like. But I think this approach that was taken was quite risky. Personally, it's not an approach that we would take. Obviously, we're taking a more bootstrapped approach, shall we say, which I think is required, because in any business you're never going to get it right from day one, right? You've got to find your product market fit. It's all right having all these great ideas, and we've got tons of great ideas, right? But it's all about finding that product market fit. Does your idea fit with the market? And sometimes people talk about being a visionary. They can be a little bit too far ahead of the market. It was like the old Sinclair C5, if for any of you are familiar with that. It was one of the first electric powered vehicles, and it was a huge failure, even though people could see into the future and go, well, maybe we will be riding around in personalized electric vehicles in the future. That flopped at that time because it was not the right time for that product to enter the market. And probably if it came out now, maybe it would be a different thing. Maybe somebody will resurrect the Sinclair C5 and bring it to the market as we're all going down the electric vehicle route. But from my point of view, and this is only my opinion, I'm always open to being proved wrong. And God bless them if the Bruce brothers had gone out there and proven me wrong with this model. Then all credit to them, because I can see what they were trying to do. It was a courageous move, but I also think that they were struggling with the reputation in the industry. I'm not going to get involved with a name calling or bun fight around that sort of thing, but there was certainly an element of resistance, I think, in the marketplace that needed to be overcome. And I'm not so sure the positioning was great in terms of doing that. Now, I've also looked into the background here, and I suspect that there might be, it might not be the end of Boomin. I don't know. I'm speculating here hugely, so forgive me, but I'm not so sure that we're going to see the end of it quite as quickly as that, to be honest with you. So there may well be an iteration, Boomin 2.0, coming to the fore at some point in the future. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But wish everybody the best of luck. I obviously feel for anybody who's been unfortunate to be let go from their position there. Obviously, if there's anything that we can do to help and support anybody, then feel free to get in touch, guys. But I think that it was a long shot. It was a big play, and again, when the market turns, never going to be easy to position the business into a shrinking market, which is effectively what we've got at the moment. But to answer the second part of your question here, Andy, you mentioned, are there any alternatives? And I think, yes, there absolutely are. And one of the things I think we are seeing in the industry is that, particularly for agents and other industry players as well, there needs to be an element of being more open-minded, I think, because there's, speaking very frankly, there are a number of complaints or a number of suggestions that I see being made in the industry, and these are not by any one person in particular, but a number of different points. And sometimes people are saying, well, what about this, or this should be done, or somebody should do something about this, or we're not happy that so and so's got a monopoly. And my view is, well, okay, there are alternatives out there, but the question is, why are people not exploring them? And then it comes up against this misalignment of values where people expect things like technology to be free. And because we've been programmed, if you like, by Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, that are largely free platforms, there's this kind of misunderstanding of how those platforms generate their revenue. And as a case in point, with Elon Musk taking over Twitter, there's some controversy now about whether or not he's going to start charging users for being on there. And some people are very unhappy about it. Some people are saying they're going to leave. And the point is, developing technology is incredibly expensive. Okay, take it from me, it is incredibly expensive. And when you've got tons and tons of developers trying to work on something, they need to be paid. It's a fact of life. Okay, no estate agent or solicitor or surveyor would effectively work for free, particularly in a full-time role. Would they work for free? So there has to be an understanding that anybody who's coming to the market with a solution, it might not be perfect, right? But if it's 80% of the way there, and it solves you 50% of your workload, well, surely that's a pretty good start and worth investigating, right? And I think there is also room for a collaborative way forward here, where agents and solicitors and others can work together to solve a lot of these problems. Now, I know there are other groups that are out there right now that are trying to solve these problems in committees and all that sort of thing. Again, I'm not particularly fond of that as an approach, because I think any kind of decision via committee is always doomed to failure from the start. But from a point of view of working with individual businesses and saying, actually, I think you've got a skeleton of a really good idea here. What if you did this? What if you did that? What if you did that? And the beautiful part about it is, when you're working with new companies, generally they tend to be very lean, and as a consequence can react and move a lot quicker. And as a response, okay, you're then able to see that whatever element of service you've requested, or feature or function that you've requested, they're generally able to release it and get it out there very, very quickly. Okay, and that's the bit that I like about a lot of these startups that are coming into the industry, that they are going to shake it up, and it will come as a surprise very quickly. And the issue I think a lot of agents will have is, when does somebody come in to the marketplace and potentially make them redundant, or at least taking out a certain amount of their market share, or a certain amount of their role. And I don't know whether I think Google or an Amazon or those sorts of businesses eyeing up something as big as the property market could come into the market and go, do you know what, actually we can make all of that redundant. And that's the worrying part as far as I'm concerned. So I honestly believe that the industry has, if it's to grow and implement a lot of effective solutions, it needs to work together. And there needs to be a lot of harmony and a lot of interest in a lot of these new things that are coming to the marketplace. Otherwise, agents are going to be locked in this constant, I don't want to use the word Stockholm syndrome, but kind of this constant battle of just looking at the big three as the only alternatives, and then of course handcuffed to them in terms of the fees that they pay, because they believe that it's an essential element to their business. But if you want to know more about that, Andy, then grab a copy of Estate Agent Secrets and have a read through that, because I'll explain to you a different way of marketing, which I think will blow the whole portal idea out of the window. But that's just me. Anyway, hope that answers the question, Andy. Thanks for that. Really appreciate your input. And again, it's a very big talking point in the industry right now. Best of luck to everybody who got involved with it. And, anything we can do to help or support anybody, then please feel free to reach out and let me know. All right, you guys. Well, I have got some more questions, believe it or not, but I'm actually going to bounce those into next week, because it's coming up. I didn't realize we've been on this for nearly an hour now. So thanks for all your time, care, and attention with us. As I say, I'll deal with those questions next week for anybody that submitted those questions and you want to know what the answers are. I'll feed those to you next week. I'm really excited about where things are at with WiggyWam and everything else that we've got going on in the background. Hopefully there's going to be some pretty cool things unfolding. Well, not hopefully, I know there are. and I'm really looking forward to how that's going to help and support people in their moving journey. So keep an eye out for those. It's going to be very exciting in the race towards Christmas as well, I can tell you that. So I'm really thrilled to be able to share more with you when I can. And as November progresses, I'm sure there's going to be more and more announcements coming out. So keep an eye out for those. As always, if there's any questions that we can help you with, any concerns, any comments, any feedback that you want to give us, please feed it through to us. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. That's happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. You can also reach out to us on our website, which is wiggywam.co.uk, or also on Twitter, which is at wiggywam_UK. That's at wiggywam_UK. And be happy to take any of your questions ready for next week's webinar, which is going to be, again, very exciting. And I'm looking forward to working with you guys all again then. So that's it from me. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll look forward to seeing you all on a future episode very soon. All right, you guys, you take care. Be good. Bye-bye.